Okay, all people who view Fatwes TV, I think today we are lucky. We are with our brother, and we are in
Busukuma.
Busukuma.
Busukuma Rutete Gayaza. We are happy to have you here.
Okay, you are welcome. We're welcome, member.
Yeah.
So that's where we are today. We are going to talk on different issues, but concerning farming. Whichever that we are going to talk, it will be about farming.
Yes, please.
How you can start, how can you use small land. You know, some people think that you must be having a chunk of
Yeah,
land to
yes,
start farming.
you need the 3 miles, 3 square miles.
Square miles to start farming, of which it is not. But we are going to move slowly by slowly. As you see, we are going to bring all those categories, of which we will learn a lot and a lot and a lot. I'm Farouk Twesje, like how you know people who are on YouTube, who are on Facebook, who are on Twitter. You are watching well now. You
Yes,
are watching well everything, of which I expect that you will learn a lot and a lot. So thank you. We are with our brother. He will introduce to you as we keep on. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Farouk. Really happy and thank you for having me. And we are happy to have you at our amazing farm. So, the farm is located in Busukuma Rutete Gayaza. Yeah, and this is a venture that we have embarked on with our partners, Catmade Enterprises, and we are Greenfields Uganda Limited. We're the lead participants in the livestock value chain, and right now what you're seeing here is our dairy unit. So we are, you know, a young farm. The farm has just started. Well, but ours is a journey, and we have just embarked on it. And I was just telling him some time ago that we intend, you know, to improve, we intend to grow, we intend to inspire, and we intend to motivate, right? So what is happening here is dairy production. So we have started with this dairy unit, and as it is, we have about 6 animals, but these 6 animals are on 5 acres, right? So we have 5 acres that we're utilizing, you know, for livestock production. So far it is dairy, but we're looking at also having a section of beef animals, and as well as you know, goats, right? So for now we have started with these composite animals, right? And some of them are milkers and others are not. Yes, you're going to ask me why composites, because we wanted to learn from them. So normally I tell my farmers that you don't want to rush, you know, with high-end breeds, Frisians, Holsteins, and etc. You don't want to go there. Why? Because you need to first get grip on the business, understand what you need to do, when, you know, look at the dynamics, understand the trade. What do the animals need to eat to get what, other than, you know, bringing the animals and before you know it, they're falling sick. And then we have had stories of you know, people bringing dozens of Frisians, high-end breeds, and then they lose them in a fortnight. So we don't want that to happen, and that's why we decided to, you know, to take it one step at a time, and then from here we're going to improve our animals. We assume that eventually we're going to be having an animal that is highly resilient and resistant and very, very high productive, right? And that's exactly what we want to achieve. And as well as we're going to have beef animals. You see, as you can see, the structure is like super big enough, and you see there's this part that is not occupied yet, and we also have the other side that is not occupied. We are fully stocked when it comes to feed, and I'm always telling farmers, before you think about anything, before you think about bringing animals to your farm, just make sure that the issue of feed is sorted. 3 things that we always look at when it comes to having a successful farm. 1, feeding. I always tell farmers the key things that you need to consider, you know, while starting your farm. You need to consider 3 important things. 1 is, you know, feeding, right? And then 2 is, you know, the genetics, because the breed that you decide, you know, to adapt for your farming, let it be dairy or beef, is very, very important. And then the 3rd one is management. You have to make sure that you have a team a dedicated team. You have structures, you need systems, that will see your project through. So that is very, very important. And when we talk about feeds, for example, before we started this project, we made sure that we have grass grown. We didn't want to go up and about thinking of what are we going to feed our animals, etc. Right? We have seen farmers who, just think about farming, and then we call it impulse farming, and then they buy the animals, bring them in, they put them in the structures, and then they start running around looking for feed. You don't want that to happen to your farm. And we already had established about 2 acres of Chloris Guyana behind there. And then we had already established about also 1.5 acres of Napier Pakchong. It is just harvested. I don't know, you might want to show them. And so as you can see, we have stacks of bales from our freshly harvested Chloris Guyana, and we just looked at 2 very big silage bunkers, at the other end of the farm, right? So those 2 bunkers can fit over 500 tons of silage. And what we do, we harvest our Napier Pakchong here fresh, right? And then we ensile it, we preserve it into those bunkers. That is what we call feed security. So on a farm, you have to make sure that feed sustainability, that is, if you want to go, the intensive way, we call it fully fledged intensive systems of farming, right? So you have to make sure that that is figured out. Now, the key thing that I always want to encourage farmers, the mindset that I want farmers to adapt, is that you really don't need a big chunk of land, 100 acres, to run a farm. Not really. Here, our target, as you can see, the structure is very big. Our target is over 150 animals. And we are going to have over 100 animals and about 40 dairy animals here on this farm and on 5 acres of land. As I said, this farm sits on only 5 acres, right? So what you need to do, most importantly, is knowing what grass do you need to grow, right? Because improved varieties, they are high performing, and that the harvest per acreage is high, right? And that is surely going to guarantee you enough forage or enough grass per year. That is very key. When we talk about genetics, you need to know when you're doing dairy animals, mostly for tropics, for example, Uganda, you don't need to run for the high-end breeds and etc. It's okay, they're high-performing, we understand, the Jerseys, the Ayrshire, the Holsteins. But are you there yet? Are you ready? So for starters, I encourage farmers to start with composites, the animals that you can easily work with. Monitor them, learn from them, learn how the business works, the projects, how the project works, and then look at the surrounding dynamics, study your market, etc. Right? And when you move from that stage, you have complete grip of the business. You can now move to improved breeds. And management, you need to start with the team. Have a dedicated team. We have about 3 guys here that are employed permanently on the farm, and one is a manager and the other are extension staff, right? So these guys are here and we handpicked them. They have profound experience in the sector, in the business, and they know what to do. So you do not need to overlook that. That is very, very important, because this is a person that is going to run the day-to-day business, to overlook the day-to-day business of the farm. So those are the 2 important factors. And I'm always telling farmers, before you even think about establishing such units, before you even think about having fancy structures, houses on a farm, and etc., the key things is feed. Because let me tell you, an animal would even feed from a shack, from a makeshift, right? Have water, have feed, and make sure that you have the right team. You have already selected, handpicked and outsourced your team to look after your farm. I always encourage farmers to, before everything, preliminarily, to try to study the industry. Know what is happening. What are your fellow farmers doing? right? Where do you need to start? When it comes to outsourcing animals, try to engage yourself in these networks, groups. They are out there. Look at them, study them, learn from other farmers. If you have, now content is everywhere. For example, Fatwes, they are doing a great job putting information out there. Try to visit their channels. Try to understand what are they capturing, what are other farmers doing, you know, the bottlenecks in the industry, the opportunities. That is really also very important. So those are the things that you need to look at. Otherwise, like I said, ours is a journey, and we have just started. The business is still young, but we are taking very strategic steps. I can tell you right now we only have about 6 animals, but we have enough feed to feed them. We are very, very sorted. The silage we harvest after every 2 weeks. That is the beauty of improved pasture varieties. And we have enough bunkers to preserve them. Yeah. So I think that's a bit about that. And maybe another important thing, we also need to think about maybe also investment, because lately now we are talking about how do we erect, you know, sustainable livestock ventures in the face of climate change. Yeah, because you see climate change is taking toll on us and it's not going back. But what do? We need to promote circularity. That is very, very key, right? That is key. So, so this investment, this venture is like encompassing a number of things. And one of them is circularity. We are going to be getting fuel from these animals. And as you can see, we have a drainage. The drainage has a slurry pit at the end. Now that pit is collecting the manure. Exactly, is collecting the manure, right? And what happens? The manure that we collect is going to be used in our gardens. Okay? Now, so what does that mean? That means that we have a 360 utilization of resources. We are not going to be forced into buying, let's say, NPK and other forms of fertilizers for our gardens because we have our manure. So I think that is also key. Like, you need to be to position your business in a way that it is on a 360 sort of rotation. You know, it is kind of covering all this, because as we evolving as a race, all these things keep coming up. We're now looking at climate change. Eventually, it's going to be something else, right? So you need to have already, you know, thought about all these things and figured all these things out. So far, we already, I can assure you that we have assured market for our milk. Currently, we don't have a lot of milk, but I'm telling you, we already have over 15 coolers, dairies in the neighborhood. We have about 3 in Bombo, and we have about 2 in Gayaza, and many and others, right? That we are already signing MOUs with, and we don't even have the milk yet, right? But we are confident, and these people are sure because they have visited our farm. They know that there is potential. There would be sustainability. There is not a time that these animals won't give us milk because we have what to feed them. So assurance, market assurance is key. So mostly for farmers who are thinking of establishing, you know, farms in business districts, in Kampala, in urban centers, and etc. This is very key. You're not going to give, you know, someone with a kura, dairy, and whatever milk today, and then tomorrow you don't have it, right? That is also important. And then maybe the message that I have for our farmers in the countryside, in the West, and we are to that point in life, and I hate to announce this or to inform you about this, but we are at that point in life where rudimentary or conventional practices of farming are not really reliable. I hate to say this. Because when you look at the cattle corridor, we happen to be, Greenfields is a consultancy firm in livestock. And we work in over 10 districts in the cattle corridor. We have supported a number of farmers and we have seen what is happening on ground, right? During the dry season, it's a disaster, right? Animals, some people lose animals, right? There is no water completely. And then you find someone who has 1,000 heads of cattle and they have about 1 square mile of land, right? But they're not using it productively. So normally what we do, I always tell farmers that all these animals, you don't need all of them, for starters. And secondly, why don't you use your land productively? Carve out 100 acres. For example, plant some improved pasture varieties. We have looked at Crodis, for example. It is a very, very good pasture variety, right? We are looking at Napier Pakchong, one of the very best, of the best elephant grass varieties. So all that, we look at all that. So I think farmers now, mostly traditional farmers in the cattle corridor, I think they need to move from the shell of, I love my animals very much, I would not sell them. But then they are going to die eventually. And then they also need to look at productivity. Because it is one thing having 1,000 heads of cattle, and it is another thing gaining from them. And by gaining, I mean, if you have a cow, it should be giving you milk. If it's not giving you milk, then it's giving you meat. If it's not giving, if it's giving you neither, then you don't need to have it. Sell it. So I know from my background, my cultural background, we have this special attachment to animals, and I completely understand that, because that is within our genes. But you see, the world is evolving. And I'm telling you, dear farmers, this information, you're going to get it from me or someone else, but the world is evolving. Land as a natural resource is not increasing, right? But we, as a people, we are increasing. The population of Uganda, as it is estimated that in the next 50 years, it is going to be double. We're looking at over 100 million people. What does that mean? That means those will be 100 million mouths to feed. 100 people that will need somewhere to live. And land is not increasing. What does that mean? So we are at that point in life where we need to now change our strategies. We need to position ourselves right to prepare for the worst. Right? Prepare yourself whereby you would be able to feed the 100 million people. And this is how you start. Right? You are blessed with 1 square mile. Well and good. That is okay. That is okay. But how about you adopted to improved farming practices? Think about it. Farmers need to start looking at farming as a business. We always tell farmers, if you're having a farm that cannot sustain its day-to-day existence in terms of operations, you don't need it. You don't need to have a farm. You have to have enough milk, to make sure that your employees are paid for, your labor is paid for, the acaricide for the animal is paid for, etc. Right? I know a number of farmers who pay their employees from the salary that they get from their jobs. Right? So surely you don't need to have them, and neither do you need to have those cows. So I think the mindset, the mentality needs to change. And as we go on to preach this mindset change gospel, and as we go on to tell people, to think outside the box, to innovate more, to create more, to become more productive and to improve productivity, I think these are, key areas that we always need to tackle. Yeah, that we always need to tackle. So it's really, really important that we shift our mindset and we start looking at farming as a business, right? And not only that, we also try to create a sustainable environment for us and for the human race. Because as it is, we can accept it or not, the population is growing, land is scarce, and we really need to feed, right? So those are maybe like things that I can probably highlight regarding improved livestock production.
I wanted you to talk about on breeding.
Yes, please.
Goat rearing. Then you tell people who are watching at least to know what is needed when you are breeding.
Thank you very much.
Even goat rearing.
Even goat rearing, yeah. Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Farouk. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah. So when it comes to breeding, and yes, we have had we have talked about this several times. Like, it's really important that you come from a position of comfort, right? So I mean, yes, we are always looking at, that animal looks so good, or it is a beef master, it looks so nice, and then you want to have your hands on a beef master, for example, if it's a beef animal. And maybe you want to have your hands or on a Holstein Friesian, for example. But normally, I want you to be conversant with what it takes to have that animal. Normally, that is where you're supposed to start from. Now, talking about breeding, I think I'm going to kind of narrow my focus on goats, right? With the experience that I have, that we are having breeds, for example, that are sensitive to some conditions. For example, we have breeds that would not do very well in the tropics, and the explanation is very simple. Their origin is not like here. Some of them come from, those cool or cold, regions in Europe, for example, right? So as you are adopting such animals here, you need to make sure that if you cannot create a similar environment, then you need to improve your breed. What do I mean? By creating a similar environment, that means you're going to do your farming on a farm that has a similar environment like where they came from, which is really impossible here, because here we have our kasana, right? Now, secondly, if that is impossible, then what do you do? Now, normally what do? You do what we call crossbreeding, right? Indigenous breeds here, for example, we have Movende goat and other breeds, and then you crossbreed it with an exotic breed until you create a resilient stud. Now, how does that work? You introduce your, for example, boa. You introduce your boa male. We call them bucks. You introduce your buck in your herd. And what happens, this buck is going to be mounting your Movende goats. And then they will have offsprings, right? The offsprings, now that is going to be the first stud or the first pedigree, right? You're not there yet. You want to get there. You want to have the most perfect breed that there is, right? When you get normally what happens when you get your first stud, these goats, they are not like humans. So you will find that the buck now wants to mount its offsprings, right? You don't want that to happen because that is called inbreeding. And in science, it's not good, right? In science, it's not good. That is why we're having all these genetic-based defects, right? You find that a farmer is telling you, now this one, every time it gives birth to the kids die. Or this happens, or this has lots of miscarriages and etc. That is caused by inbreeding. We don't want that to happen. So what you do, you phase out. Now you remove the buck. You buy a new buck. Now the new buck that has come, remember, your focus is to improve your what? To improve your breed. And here, you're actually killing two birds with one stone. One, buying these exotic breeds for stocking is expensive. But when you introduce your buck, you actually eventually get the right breed that is highly resistant and high performing, but at a very cheap price. Of course, it will take some bit of time, but that is okay. Now, secondly, we are avoiding the sensitivity, you know, the labor intensiveness that comes with the exotic breeds. You know, that is also very important. So when you get your back out now, you get a new back. So the new back now is going to start from where the other one stopped, right? So you do that until you're at your third pedigree. That is the last stud. Now there you know you're stable, right? There you know you're stable. So eventually you would have improved your breed and you would have the boar that you wanted, but most importantly, you would be having a breed that will not emaciate, right? For example, due to heat stress. That is one. Secondly, we look at the conversion capacity. It would have improved because there is potentiality of utilizing, you know, coarse feed in Movende goats. They have that capacity. You're picking those traits as well, and you're capturing them in the boars. So you would have greatly improved your breed. So I think those are the key take-homes that farmers need to understand when it comes to breeding. But I will always tell farmers that composites are the best animals for the tropics. And composites, I mean these crossbreeds. Yeah, because of their adaptability, of their adaptability traits, and most importantly, their ability to convert feed and utilize it effectively. And the third thing, their productive capacity. Because this is an incorporation of different genes brought all together. And that is exactly what you want to achieve. Mostly for farmers that are just starting, I encourage them to go for that. Well, they are not going to be as performing as the original exotics, right? But it is okay, because when you are ready to, you know, to keep exotic breeds, you will surely be okay to keep them, because you would have learned, you know, from your composites, you know. So at the same time, we don't want to have issues of, oh, you know, it got East Coast fever today and died tomorrow. Not really. We need resistant, resilient breeds for our environment. Yeah. So here we still have our challenges as Africans, of course, as a third world country. We still have issues of mechanization. The drugs are not reliable. You know, it's a lot of stories, right? And we are not. If I told you that we are going to be out of that ruckus today, I would be lying to you. We're still evolving, right? Even the guys that we are seeing that have you know, that at their 5th generation farming, whatever, in the Swiss Alps and in Netherlands, they started from somewhere, right? So it is really okay. But what do? We take a step at a time. We learn. We make mistakes. We correct them. We repeat until we get there. So I don't know if there is another thing that you wanted me to touch about breeding, but
I think you have explained enough. Maybe on the issue of
yes, please.
There is a challenge you pointed out that drugs, those are parasites. But how can a farmer who is out there can live that? Because last time we talked with a manager who manages farm of His Excellency President Museveni in Rwachitura there. He talked about zoning these farmers that in case when you are in Nyabushozi, you can use this type of parasite, and when you are in another side, you can use another. But you first test test whether this one works or whether it doesn't. So can you say a word on it?
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a good one. So that is actually becoming critical, and it's a very, very big challenge. But for me, I will always tell farmers, because why is it that back in the days we had acaricides that were effective? It is because we never used to mix them. Right? It is because we never used to mix them. So as it is, so we realized that because of course the ticks also developed some traits and they became resistant. And guess what farmers did? The farmers started mixing acaricides with pesticides. Now that is where the problem evolved, right? That is where the problem evolved. So normally for me, I always come back to management, because management is important, right? And it is, of course, scientifically backed up. An animal that is fed right, that has the most top-of-the-line immune system, it will always be resistant. That is one. Now, secondly, if you have an acaricide that works for you, keep it, maintain it, and don't try to be a mad scientist, because that is what all these our farmers are doing. They are mixing acaricides with dudu. That is not scientifically, right. So unless you have the scientific recommendation from a technical person that please switch from this acaricide to this, then go ahead and do it, right? Other than farmer B telling you that, oh, I mixed dudu with with an ultras or whatever, and it worked, and then exactly, and then you just jump on it. So surely I would say that is not right. And what happens? You see, when you mix, because how it started, farmers were mixing different acaricide brands. This mixed with that and whatever. Oh, it works perfectly fine. What happened? These ticks, they developed the features, traits, the genetic whatever that will fight these acaricides, because they're becoming also adoptive. The Waganda have a saying, right? So that is how it all came about. Yeah. So I would say that farmers need to, if an acaricide does not work, do not mix. Try a different acaricide. Eventually, you're going to land on an acaricide that works. You use that until it doesn't work. Then seek technical advice to switch to another acaricide. Don't mix it with dudu. Don't mix with another acaricide. And most importantly, make sure that your management is top of the line. Make sure that your animals are not exposed. Make sure that your farm is fenced up, right? And again, make sure that there are these basic things that you need to do at your farm. For example, removing shrubs, these thickets from your farm. That is also key, because now those are working as a home for breeding of ticks, right? They're just a perfect environment for breeding of ticks. So those are the things I would talk about that. About zoning, I would say I wouldn't say I have reliable science-based comment that I would give about it. But I think provided you do not mix up the acaricides, right? Because now that's where the problem comes, because the ticks will learn that, so he's giving us matoke mixed with posho. Okay, let us grow a coating that can resist both, right? But if you give them this, attack them with this, they don't die, then you try something else, not mixing the two. So that's pretty much what I would say about it. Okay. Yes, please.
I don't know whether you have last word.
Oh, thank you very much.
How to choose the grass.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe what I would talk about, so we have different grass varieties, right? We're having legumes, we have grasses, right? And then the legumes mostly, these are mostly they're high in nutritional composition, and they have high crude protein, right? And then the grasses, they are high in carbohydrates, high in starch, right? And then we're having, of course, now like grass varieties like Napier varieties. Some Napier pak chong have also high crude protein, right? So some grasses are for making hay like that, and others are for making silage that we saw in our bunkers, right? Now, we grow Chloris Guyana because it's high performing, it grows very fast, and it gives us good quality hay. Now, what we do, we incorporate it with some legumes, right? We incorporate it with mukuna, yeah? We incorporate it with centrosema, and then we intercrop our Napier pak chong with mukuna. Why we're doing the intercropping is to have a cocktail of feed, right? Because we want our animals to get the best out of this feed. So I think while farmers are picking grass varieties to plant, they need to know that we have two categories: grasses that you're going to plant for hay and then for silage. And most importantly, they need to know that we have grasses and then legumes. Then legumes, they have a high concentration of good crude protein. Normally we encourage that if you're planting, mostly those that have small pieces of land or gardens, that you intercrop legumes with grasses, right? So that you know when you're harvesting, you're going to harvest them all at once, and you will have a highly nutritious cocktail of feed. So the two varieties that I would recommend every farmer to have on their farm, I think this is also important to mention. You have to have Chloris Guyana, they call it Rhodes grass. In Kenya they call it Boma Rhodes, or you have to have Napier. It could be sugar Napier, sweet Napier, or Napier pak chong. And greenfields, that is what we specialize in. Improved pasture varieties. We do farm extension support. We do farm assessment visits. We do general consultancy in livestock. We do capacity building, training young people. We have trained a number of farmers in the cattle corridor to set up beef ventures, to set up dairy units. And most importantly, we are also pushing a mindset shift in young people and some of our traditional farmers to start embracing and harnessing these improved farming practices. So that's pretty much it. But all I can assure you is that the future is improved farming. The future is planting grass. Farmers, I know, our farmers in the West, I know to you this sounds like a joke, and that is what our farmers in the West say. At this point, there is no turning back. And I'm telling you, the climate change is catching up on us. Time is catching up on us. It is now or never. We need to plant grass. Two important varieties to have on your farm: Chloris Guyana for hay, or elephant grass. Those two varieties. If you have the capacity to intercrop them with legumes, well and good. You can always reach out to us. We offer that advice, and we sell the seeds as well, the seed and the planting material. That we always do. We can assess your farm. We advise on how the setup is supposed to look like. Even sourcing of the animals itself. We support farmers from start until they are there. And then we also always come through with advisory and offering a supporting hand, until you are where you want your farmer to be. Maybe, I don't know if I have to wrap it up here, but I'm Charles Akamanya once again, and I'm the head of programs at Greenfields Uganda Limited, and I'm one of the partners on this beautiful farm. And like I said, ours is a journey. Today we are here. The next time Mr. Faluk Twesije from Fatwes visits us, he's going to find a very different setup. We are likely to stock over 100 bulls in here in the coming months. And we're looking at as well expanding. Maybe one other investments that we're looking at, probably that I can give you a sneak peek about. We're likely to have very beautiful cottages up there. We're looking at having a, you know, agrotourism, you know, because we believe that this is a setup that other people want to see. You know, we want to inspire more farmers. People want to look at this. You want to bring your families and have a, you know, home away from, you know, home, and holiday makers and as well as students, right? Because this is going to be, ideally, this is going to be a center of excellence for livestock production in East Africa, right? So we have started, and we will be excited to, you know, to fill you in on the subsequent activities or establishments that will come through.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Before ending, like how you said.
Yes, sir. Otherwise, maybe the last words that I have for the farmer.
Yes, if they need to talk to you.
Oh, about the, surely, I think the phone numbers, that is very important. In case if you want to reach out, my two numbers are, Airtel is 0700 830 886. Maybe I can repeat it, 0700 830 886. And then MTN is 0770 64 0797. 0770 64 0797. Charles Sakamanya is my name, and my Twitter handle is at Charles Sakamanya, and I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook, or you can search on Facebook Greenfields Uganda Limited, or on Twitter Greenfields Uganda Limited. Thank you very much. Maybe my last comments would be, guys, let us farm. We have about 100 million mouths to feed, and that is on us farmers. So how about we start now as we project for the next 50 years? Thank you very much. I salute you.